Hi, my name is Heather Jones. I'm part of the student ministry team here at Advent. And I'm so excited for you to hear from some of our students this morning. They'll be sharing a little bit about their time here at Advent, whether it was through Advent Kids, Advent students, mission trips, and how those experiences has shaped their journey and helped them grow in their relationship with Jesus. Let's welcome Molly Francis.
Good morning. My name is Molly Francis, and I'm going to be sharing my journey of faith. When my Advent journey started, I was in preschool. I was the shy little girl that would never speak. I remember that I didn't have many friends. Now, I have so many friends here at Advent. I'm involved, and Advent is a place I feel safe at. I would like to share some important parts of my faith that has shaped me into who I am today. For me, a lot of my journey started with youth group. It was a place where I felt safe to ask real questions about God. Elevate is a place where we could laugh together during silly games and then turn around and have a deep conversation about life and faith. I learned that God cares about every part of my life, the big moments and the little moments. During Elevate, I started to understand that your journey matters. Sometimes when I would share something, someone else would say, "Me too," and then I knew I wasn't alone. I learned that my faith isn't just about knowing God, it's about building a relationship with Him. One of my biggest blessings in my journey has been my friend group at church. Some of my closest friends started at church, and those friends have been the ones who pushed me closer to God when I've been discouraged. We've laughed together, prayed together, and sometimes even cried together. They're the kind of friends who will celebrate my victories, but also remind me to keep trusting God when things get tough. We have built a community where it's okay to be real. I always share my struggles with them knowing I won't be judged. We encourage each other to live out our faith every day, not just on Sundays, and by sharing our experiences, we help each other stay strong in our walk with God. Every Sunday, I would be so excited to go to Elevate and talk about God with my friends. Our friendships doesn't just stop when we leave the church building. We carry our friendship whether we're at school, hanging out, or even texting throughout the week. One of my biggest things I have learned from my friends is that sharing your journey doesn't always look like preaching or giving a speech. Sometimes it can look like sending a text to check in, sitting with someone who feels alone, or reminding a friend they are loved by God. Being a part of that group has taught me that faith isn't just personal, it's meant to be shared in a community. Another important part of my faith journey has been going to Revolution. It's a youth event where hundreds of students gather to worship, learn, and grow in our relationship with God. Being in a room full of people my age, all singing and praising together, is something I'll never forget. Going to Revolution over the past 3 years reminded me that I'm not alone in my faith. There are so many others walking the same road. The speakers shared personal stories of their challenges in their own faith, and the worship sessions were powerful moments of connection with God. At Revolution, I made so many memories I'll never forget. Confirmation was another big step. Up until then, I learned about God mostly through Sunday school and youth group. But confirmation really made me slow down and think, what do I believe? It wasn't just going through lessons, it was learning how those truths actually apply to my life. One of the most memorable parts of that season was my confirmation retreat. Being away from my normal routine gave me the space to really focus on God without distractions. We worshiped together, had quiet time to pray, and shared stories about our faith. That weekend made my confirmation feel even more personal and meaningful. I would like to share a few things I learned in confirmation. A big word that stuck out to me in confirmation was sacrament. The meaning of sacrament is an outward and visible sign of an inward and spiritual grace. In the United Methodist Church, we believe in 2 sacraments, baptism and communion. Another thing that stuck with me since confirmation is the vows, which is prayers, presence, gifts, service, and witness. Out of those 5, I would say service was the most noticeable to me. Ever since 6th grade, I have helped out in Sunday school almost every Sunday. Not only have I gave my service to Sunday school, but other church events such as VBS, Adventure, Christmas events, and March Mission Madness. Through helping out, not only have I made friendships with the girls my age in my youth group, I made friendships with the kids in kids ministry. Serving at Sunday school is something I love and will continue doing. When I look back at my journey, Elevate, my friends at church, Revolution, confirmation, my retreat, and serving at church, I can see how each part has shaped my faith. This church has been the place where my faith has grown, where leaders have encouraged me, and where I found a community. I've learned that my story isn't meant to be kept to myself. In Acts chapter 1, verse 8, Jesus says, "You will be my witnesses to the ends of the earth." Being a witness simply means telling others what you experience with God. Thank you for listening to my story today. I hope it encourages you to share your own journey of faith with others. Thank you.
Good morning. If you don't already know me, my name is Caroline Breinig. I grew up in the church, this church to be specific. I always believed in God, but before middle school, I never really knew what it was like to experience His presence. Elevate, which is our church's youth group, really opened my eyes to what God's love could really feel like. The big thing that brought me closer to God was the retreats, especially Revolution. I've been to Revolution 3 times, and it's definitely changed me for the better. They have heart-filled worship and music, and it's all in the best company. We get to be surrounded by a ton of other people our age who are going through similar things, and we all get to worship together. It's overall the best experience I've ever had. Another thing that has really caused my faith to grow is confirmation. As some of you may already know, me and many of my fellow youth recently got confirmed in May. Confirmation was a big part in my faith journey. We learned about many things, some of my favorites being our journeys, the Trinity, and sin and grace. Overall, confirmation is the biggest part in my faith journey. Next, a huge part in my faith journey is my friends. While some people have come and gone, our group of 2 quickly turned into 4 and then 9. Over time, we grew very close, and with those close relationships, we gave each other a better and closer relationship with God. No matter what we say or what we do, we won't be judged, but instead, all we are shown is love and patience. Our friendships grew closer through confirmation, not just with a couple people, but with everyone in our group. Back to the topic of confirmation and retreats, we also had our confirmation retreat. With this retreat, we went up to Asbury Hills and spent around 2 days talking and worshiping God. This retreat was my favorite because we got to not only explore the beautiful campgrounds, but with the constant lessons, it definitely helped me and my friends find a better understanding of God. It specifically helped me realize that I'm loved by God and everyone He created is loved by Him too. We had 5 or 6 lessons talking about the vows we would have to make when we got officially confirmed. These vows were prayers, presents, gifts, service, and witness. These vows continue to help me in my daily life when trying to remember to trust in God and make the right decisions. Romans chapter 12, verse 3 says, "For by the grace given in me, I say to everyone among you not to think of yourself more highly than you ought to think, but to think with sober judgment, each according to the measure of faith that God has assigned." This is my favorite verse because it helps me keep the right mindset of the person I want to be. I would also love to talk about children's ministry and how it's helped me grow. When growing up, I always went to Sunday school after worship. I got to use that time to bond with God and my peers. Although I didn't always want to go, I get to look back on it now and realize how lucky I was to have that experience. Now I volunteer in children's ministry to hopefully fulfill those memories and help the kids today make great memories as well. For those of you who are mentioned or not, I would like to give a special thanks to you for helping me get this far and continuing to help me support me as I grow in my faith. Thank you for taking the time to listen and learn about my faith journey.
Good morning. I'm Lainey Long, and today I'm going to be sharing my story of my relationship with God and how Advent has helped it grow. Like most of you here today, I grew up going to church every Sunday, or at least Sunday school. I always knew about God and that He loved me, but I never had a bond or connection with Him until I started going to Elevate. If you didn't know what Elevate is already, it's when all the youth from 6th grade to 12th grade gather on Sunday to learn more about God to grow their faith. But one of the things that stick with me the most every Sunday from Elevate are the friendships. There is something about being in a room where you feel included and heard that is so special you can't find it anywhere else. I and so many others have grown closer to one another over the years, but one of the things that has brought me closest to God and my youth group were the retreats. Overall, my favorite retreat was the confirmation retreat, but I'll get back to that later. But if I had to choose a close second place, it'd be the Revolution. One of my favorite things about Revolution is the atmosphere. Going away down to Columbia for the weekend to see people who preach what made them come close to God, and seeing all of the youth come down from throughout the state, that is so special. Going to Revolution was one of the many reasons I felt ready enough to go through confirmation. Confirmation was one of the many reasons I have gotten so close to God and the other youth at Advent. But if you asked me what my favorite part was, I would have to say the retreat. The retreat was so special to me because I got lost. The retreat was so special because it was only us and then a few leaders. We all had so much fun playing games and running around trying to find the best sunset. But all the parts happened when it was late at night and we got to read letters that our friends and family had written for us. We also got to make our stoles that we would later wear on Confirmation Sunday. The reason why I loved confirmation so much, though, wasn't the retreat, but the timing of everything. I was battling bad anxiety and mental health at the time we were going through confirmation, and some of the only reasons I got through it were the leaders, but mainly the girls in my group. There were so many sleepless nights when I felt like I was either going to throw up or something bad happened to me. But unfortunately, that overwhelming feeling was just a day-to-day occurrence. But as the confirmation year went on and my relationships with God and my friends and leaders got stronger, my anxiety slowly started slowing down and not happening as much. And when those nights came, all I did was pray because that's all I could do. As in 1 Peter verse 5, it states, "Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you." So all I can say on this is I know there's some type of shield over teenagers and young kids with mental health, but even if you have no one to talk to or support you, God will be there. Overall, to try and sum things up, I would say if you are thinking about joining a group at Advent, do it. Everyone is so inviting and willing to listen to you and your story without any judgment. And that's it. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Catherine Polito. I wanted to share my journey with faith and how Advent Church has truly changed me. Advent is the only church I've ever known. I was baptized here, and I'm very excited to be getting confirmed this coming year. As a kid, there were times where I dreaded going to church. I never wanted to get up. My parents had to drag me there, which I'm very glad they did. But this all changed when I started coming to Elevate. Elevate is a place where you go from laughing uncontrollably to having the most meaningful conversations within a blink of an eye. Elevate gave me a place to slow down, reflect, and really connect with something deeper than myself. At Elevate, I truly began to understand who God is, not just as a belief, but as a real person present in my personal life. I have found some of my best friendships through church. These friends that I have made through church have brought me even closer to God. Being around people who also are following God helps me feel closer to Him. In Elevate, we go on some very fun retreats. One of my favorite retreats is Revolution. At Revolution, students from across South Carolina come, gather, and worship God all under one roof. The music, the hotels, the friends, the leaders make for one incredible weekend, filled with God's love. But it's not just Elevate that has impacted me. Children's ministry is also a big part of my faith. I had such a wonderful experience in children's ministry as a kid that I volunteer most Sundays in children's ministry to try to give the kids the same experience I had. Children's ministry is one of the highlights of my week. Working with the children at the church, I really enjoy seeing them so happy and hearing about their lives. I also go to Asbury Hills, a United Methodist camp for youth. Asbury Hills is an overnight church camp where their mission is birth, growth, and renewal. This is the camp I go to every year. At Asbury Hills, you get to go to church services twice a day, and we also do a lot of fun activities. Some of these activities being Wet Willie, rock climbing, and Leap of Faith, and so many more. This year, the theme was 3 simple rules. Do no harm, do good, and stay in love with God. Now, I'm going to invite the band up as I finish. This is from Matthew 22, 36 through 40. "Teacher, what is the greatest commandment in law?" Jesus replied, "Love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, and with all of your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. Then the second, like it, love your neighbors as yourself. All of the laws and proverbs hang on to these two commandments." We talk a lot about these two commandments because by following these two commandments, you will follow all the rest as well. Thank you for listening to my journey with faith.
Good morning, I'm Colin. I wanted to start by talking about my first real encounter with God. I was in 6th grade at the time. It was my first year at Revolution. And for those who don't know what it is, it's like this place where we go in Columbia every year, where they sing worship music and there's a guest speaker who comes. I didn't know anyone, and there were no other guys on the trip. I was still new to youth group and didn't really have a relationship with God. So in my head, I was kind of just thinking this is going to be a little boring because I didn't really know anyone. It was just mainly me and my thoughts, and people I was riding with were really nice, so by the end of them. And on the way back from our Saturday night service, people I was riding with played the song "Reckless Love" by Corey Osbury, which at the time I had never heard before, but is now one of my favorite songs. When I heard this song, it was like I was really being touched by God in a way I didn't know was possible. The next year, when I went back to Revolution, it was a little different. There were a few guys I knew, I had a phone, and going into it, I had a better mindset. And we were there from that first night. I could feel that same feeling coming back, and by the end of that weekend, I was once again at a mountaintop with God. It was really like I was going to make changes, going to follow God, going to pray, and I stuck with it this time for about a day. By the end of the next day, I was just living my life like normal, not thinking about it at all, and just back to square one. It was this past November when I got a concussion, and because of my concussion, I couldn't really look at my phone or do too much. But the thing I was doing was listening to music. And the same song came on, and in a way it took me back to that moment when I was riding in the van, and there was this one part that really spoke to me about where God leaves the 99, and it's in Luke 15:4-7. So I just wanted to read that. And suppose one of you has 100 sheep and loses one of them. Doesn't he leave the 99 in the open country and go after the lost sheep until he finds it? And when he finds it, he joyfully puts it on his shoulders and goes home. Then he calls his friends and neighbors together and says, "Rejoice with me, I found my lost sheep." I tell you that in the same way, there will be more rejoicing in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous persons who do not need to repent. In that moment, it was like a switch clicked in my brain that I needed to make changes, needed to repent. I was a lost sheep, and God was revealing himself to me and was leaving the 99 for me, putting me on his shoulders, taking me home. That was the moment that I wish I could say I turned my life around, but it wasn't. I was really focused on God this time for about a month, and then I was just, once again, not really caring for it that much, and just every now and then turning back to God. It was now my 3rd year of Revolution. It was pretty much a completely changed group of people who were there. I was going into it once again with the mindset that it was going to be good, and at that time, I was having one of those times where I cared for God and felt like I showed it. From that very first night that we were there, they had one verse that they were highlighting the whole weekend, and that verse was Ephesians 2:13. But now in Christ Jesus, you who once were far off have been brought near by the blood of Christ. And by the end of the weekend, I was just finally starting to realize what it really meant, and that I was far and could be brought near by the blood of Christ. And that was when I gave my life to God and turned my life around. About a month after that, I had my confirmation retreat. Going into it, I was still in kind of a spiritual high and was really excited. There I learned a lot, but the things I remember most were 5 words: prayer, presence, gifts, service, and witness. And as the weekend went on, we learned more and more about what each of these mean. By the end of the weekend, there was one that stuck out to me the most, and that was presence. I liked the idea that God was with me and the thought of it in general, and tried to think of ways I could really use it in my life. It was about 2 months after that I had my confirmation Sunday. And that same day I got baptized. At that time, my relationship with God was steady and strong. I really felt like I was in a good place. I had just started reading my Bible about a month before. I was really starting to connect with God and was just in a really comfortable and safe place with God. Fast forward a little to the past summer when I went to Salkehatchie. And for those who don't know what it is, it's like where you go to this place in Sumter and we like help people and renovate their houses to make it better for them to live in. And at the time, I'd been reading my Bible consistently, praying, but at the same time, didn't really feel like I was growing a ton in my relationship. It wasn't until Salkehatchie where it was like I had that fresh spark again that was burning inside of me. I enjoyed getting to know new people and getting to know people I already knew even better, so that we could work towards the same goal of helping those people. By the end of Salkehatchie, I was in an even better place than I was with God when I got there. And ever since, I've been trying to maintain that and not let things like sports distract me from that, or school. And before I go, I just want to share one verse that helps me to kind of get my mind back on track when I start kind of getting the mindset that I don't need God, or this doesn't really help. And that verse is Romans 12:2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Sophie, and I am a senior in high school. I'm going to talk about my time at Salkehatchie and my experience at Elevate. Salkehatchie is a summer service camp where you are given the opportunity to make a lasting impact on a community by addressing basic housing needs in impoverished areas. This year during Salkehatchie, we rebuilt a deck, reshingled the roof, many other small jobs, and my personal favorite, redoing the bathroom. It is hard to express in words how much fellowship, helping, faith, togetherness, and love for Jesus was packed into just 1 week of service that has forever changed my life. I can proudly say that some of the best memories were made in a tiny bathroom under a smelly sink, fixing a plumbing system. Knowing that we were helping out a family so much was my fire to get me through the week. Even though we came back each night covered in dirt and sweat, worked in the blazing heat, and I woke up each morning on the floor because of my air mattress, I somehow didn't care because we were working in the name of the Lord, and it was still one of the best weeks of my life. So I want to talk today how important it is to have a servant's heart in everything that you do. 1 Peter 4 verse 10 states, "Each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms." Salkehatchie helped me to not only become a hard worker, but to value that trait. My empathy for each and every human in this world was deepened throughout the week as I learned that a leaky roof, not having a working shower or sink, a home stained with smoke, and so much more were so many people's normalcy. Soon enough, I suddenly found myself having no trouble going into a small crawl space filled with bugs and rodents to fix a drain, fueled by the desire to help get Miss Delphine, our homeowner, and her daughter basic housing needs. In other words, I firmly believe that caring about things holds worth and utility. I believe that going the extra mile to show people that you care holds more of an honor in my heart than it does an extra load. It is not a burden in my way, but an opportunity to show my love and spirit to the world. Matthew 5 verse 41 talks about a Roman law that allowed soldiers the right to make civilians carry their gear for a mile. It states, "If anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go with them 2 miles." Jesus taught that having a generous heart that embodies going the extra mile with self-sacrifice is extremely important. During Salkehatchie, I saw each and every individual go the extra mile to help and show the families what Jesus is all about. Whether you spread the light of God with your bright smile, your kind words, or by spending a week at Salkehatchie, do it to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. I found out about Salkehatchie through Elevate, which is another area of my life that I see the most fellowship and growth. I have never left Elevate with regret, but always with a full heart. I have multiple prayers in my Bible thanking God for helping me decide to come. If that tells you anything, it shows that putting yourself out there is not always easy, but Advent makes it easy. Having a community around yourself is so important when it is helping you grow closer to the Lord. My time at Elevate has been spent gaining advice, laughter, and most importantly, the gospel. I absolutely adore the late nights that my small group and I have spent talking about our home lives, school, and Jesus. It has only been a light in my life that has forever given me numerous opportunities to ensure that I spend my life valuing the Lord. Because I'm in my last year of high school, I encourage myself to say yes to opportunities more than I said no. After all, we were not made to stay in our grave, but to go and make disciples. Salkehatchie was something that came out of saying yes to everything, and I am forever grateful for it. So whether you're 10 years old, 40 years old, 80 years old, or in your senior year like me, I encourage each and every one of you to say yes to every opportunity that comes your way with a servant's heart. Do it scared, do it sad, do it angry, do it happy, do it with faith the size of a mustard seed and faith the size of a mountain. Whatever it is, do it, because God is in there with you no matter what. Thank you.
Great job.
Good morning. My name is Holly Williams, and I've been coming to Advent my whole life. This Advent family has carried me through all 16 years, and I'm forever grateful for that. I'm also grateful that I've had family at Advent that has raised me to be able to stand in front of all of you and talk about my faith. Whether it was seeing Mimi and Pops open the door for us on Sunday morning, or riding with my dad and my brother to Elevate, or my mom being my Sunday school teacher and coach of my church basketball team, which is on track for a championship season, my family has made sure that I'm being raised with Jesus in my life. When I was in 8th grade, Advent supported me and many other 14-year-olds through confirmation. I like to think about that time as a turning point. Not only did I realize I was growing up, but also that I had a big decision to make between me and Jesus. I knew my leaders, my friends, and my family would be there to support me, but I also knew that me being confirmed in the United Methodist Church was about my faith. I couldn't rely on someone else to truly confess that Holly Williams believes in the gospel. At first, this scared me. Am I old enough to make this decision? Am I smart enough to make this decision? Am I close enough with Jesus to make this decision? The questions of self-doubt spiraled in my head until they didn't anymore. One thing stopped them: prayer. Not just the family prayers before dinner, but the ones I repeated in my head when the questions came back. Prayer gave me Jesus, and Jesus gave me peace. The peace that God gives is so special and intentional. John chapter 14, verse 27 reads, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid." The Lord's peace has been something I look to every day since then. Whether I ask for peace surrounding a big test, an issue between friends, or for peace over my rage when I hear someone chewing loudly. I do not know where I would be without Jesus or his peace, but I know I would not be standing right here. Sunday nights changed from my parents telling me that I needed to go to Elevate to waiting somewhat patiently on Cooper and my dad to come downstairs so we could get there right at 5:45. And Sunday morning alarms didn't seem so daunting anymore. Church became more about listening and less about drawing ugly pictures of my brother on the bulletin. I started investing myself into the church and into its message, into Jesus. God knew me for 14 years, and it was finally time for me to know him. He wanted to give me his peace, and I wanted to give him something in return. My commitment to growing a more personal relationship with him, but I didn't know how. I remember our confirmation retreat in Asbury Hills where we were taught about prayers, presence, gifts, service, and witness. God's perfect timing showed me how I could grow deeper in my faith. Through my prayers supporting Advent, I could show Jesus my commitment. Through showing up to worship him, I could show Jesus my commitment. Through giving my time to be in God's presence, I could show Jesus my commitment. Through volunteering at an event or Sunday school, I could show Jesus my commitment. And through being a good example of who God calls us to be, I could show Jesus my commitment. These examples that popped into my head reminded me that Jesus wants a deep, unique, and personal relationship with each of us. And maybe the ways that I share my prayers, presence, gifts, service, and witness can deepen that connection. The Lord taught me many important lessons during confirmation, some that weren't necessarily part of the curriculum. But I think the overarching theme of how Jesus showed up in this time in my life is that he knew what I needed, and that was to know him. April 31st was the day I confirmed my baptism. It was also the day I realized I never wanted to stop getting to know the Lord. He brought and brings me so much joy, hope, peace, and comfort when I need it. And he brings me those blessings even when I don't think I'd need them. And that's because we know each other. I'll never be able to show enough gratitude or appreciation for the ways that God and the Advent family have carried me through my life and delivered me here. Here in a place of a home feeling and an excited feeling to where Jesus leads me in my faith and in my life next. Thank you.
Good morning, Advent. My name is Mallory Posta, and I'm a junior in high school. I joined the youth group at Advent when I was in 6th grade, so I've been a part of the program for about 5.5 years. So when Heather asked us to talk about our experience at today's very first youth-led service, I immediately signed up. To make a long story short, youth group has had a huge impact on me, and I think the best thing it has given me is an incredible sense of community. Like I said, I began coming to Elevate in the 6th grade during COVID, so we had Sunday night youth service in the gym 6 feet apart. At this time, I came to youth group about once or twice a month to hang out with my friends and eat pizza. But as I grew older, I started to realize how important it was to me. It wasn't until 8th grade, when I went on my confirmation trip with Advent and I got baptized, that I finally started to feel a deep connection to our church. Middle school was a really challenging part of my life, as it is for many kids, simply because that's when you start to choose a clique or your close friends, and a lot of times you can fall into the wrong group of people. Unfortunately, this happened to me, but it also gave me a chance to look forward to Sunday nights at Advent, where I could sit with my friends and debrief with my life group. I began reading my Bible after I got baptized, and it showed me that the darkest times make you stronger and closer to the Lord. When I got to high school, I started to come more often and go on all the trips, like the fall retreat and the ski trip, which was my favorite. I had found a better group of friends who continue to urge me to go to midweek at First Baptist and FCA on Friday nights. I went to my first mission trip the summer after freshman year, and it showed me that there's no point in reading the gospel if I wasn't going to spread it. I got to make an impact on little kids' lives, and when I came home, I began branching out in my faith more than ever. I think youth group has changed a lot over the years, but as it's changed, I've continued to build my faith. One thing that has continued to stay the same, even when we've changed up different locations and youth pastors, was my life group leaders. After eating dinner, worshiping, and listening to a small sermon, we head off to life groups, separated by our age and gender. Miss Ann and Miss Kelsey have been with me through my entire journey to Christ, and they've helped me grow into the person I am now. I've learned how important it is to surround yourself with good people and other followers of Christ, because who you hang out with really reflects who you are as a person. Living out faith as a teenager can be very hard, especially with spreading His word and staying godly in school, on my team, around my friends, and with social media. But a big thing that this has taught me is that it's okay to be different and bold in your faith. My life leaders continue to inspire me and show me now new ways to spread the gospel outside of youth group. Going into the first few Sundays of Elevate, me and my small life group of 5 girls and 2 leaders continue to inspire each other, and I look forward to worshiping and chatting about our weeks every Sunday night. Now I get to watch my brother, who was the one playing the drums during worship, go through Elevate and build up a sense of community. I get to witness his faith grow just like mine did, and he's now gaining lifelong friends and incredible mentors in his life group. Watching him get stronger with the Lord little by little makes me love youth group that much more. I'm going to end with a quick verse that I think sums up my testimony. I'll now invite the band to come up before I share. Matthew 28:19 and 20 says, "Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you, and behold, I am with you always, to the end of age. This verse shows that when God calls you to speak out about your faith, you should never ignore him. For all you know, talking to someone about Christ could be the first time they've ever heard of him. So be bold in your faith, because even when you're scared, he is always with you. Thank you for listening, and thank you, Elevate and Advent, for being with me every step of the way.
Hello, I'm Russell Freeman. I'm the senior pastor here at Advent United Methodist Church, and we are so happy you chose to join us for online worship today. And we hope you had a wonderful experience in doing so. We would love for you to come down and join us on a Sunday morning at the Five Forks campus here in Simpsonville on Woodruff Road. We have worship services at 9 a.m. and 10:30 a.m. We have offerings for children, for youth, and for adults. Also, you can learn so much more about us at our webpage at advent-umc.org. Can't wait to see you and get to know you better here at Advent United Methodist Church as we work to make disciples and grow God's kingdom.